Rumble, rumble, rumble. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Rumble. Yeah. Okay.
Thought about the things that bug me the most. I wrote them all down and stuck them on the post. Felt a little better, but I wanted more. So I took a deep breath and I let out a roar. My friends heard me screaming, so they came and screamed too. Pretty soon it was just the thing to do. Let's all go down to the screaming pit, scream about how we feel when your mind is reeling and you're about to hit the ceiling, and it feels like a feeling is the only thing that's real. Well, I tried to hide the way I feel inside. So let's all go down to the screaming pit, scream about how we feel. Everybody screaming about their problems and fears. Got to a point where my throat got hoarse, and this screaming pit thinking about to run its course. There were so many people just trying to be heard. I couldn't hear myself, not a single word. Got so bad it was more than I could take. Maybe a pit where you scream might have been a mistake. Let's all go down to the screaming pit, scream about how we feel. Your mind is reeling and you're about to hit the ceiling, and it feels like a feeling is the only thing that's real. Well, I try to hide the way I feel inside. So let's all go down to the screaming pit, scream about how we feel. Lately it's been feeling like something's been missing. All we do is talk and we don't ever listen. Something's been growing at the bottom of the pit. Knows all about us, but we don't understand it. Watches our movements, copies our screams. So nothing we hear is exactly what it seems. Solution part.
Shoot, I wrote this song like a year ago. Why can't I remember the last line? Seems. Oh yeah,
And screaming any louder won't do us no good. Till the thing in the pit and the screams are understood. Let's all go down to the screaming pit and scream about how we feel. When your mind is reeling and you're about to hit the ceiling, feels like a feeling is the only thing that's real. Well, I try to hide the way I feel inside. So let's all go down to the screaming pit and scream about how we feel. Let's all go down to the screaming pit and scream about how we feel.
oh, hello there. Why don't you come over here? Where I am. Hello. Hello everyone. It's a bright and sunny day here in New Jersey. Bright and sunny and warm. It is currently, I'm just checking the weather for you here. We do it all. We do weather, we do traffic at the top of the hour, on the 8s, whenever you need it. 87 degrees here in New Jersey. And I'm going to check the comments, and I'm going to see how hot it might be where you are. Because this is wild. It's like false summer sort of thing. Right? Is it like that for you? Where you are? Is anybody there? Okay, here we come over here. Good. Yes. These are streams, real streams. Good. That counts. Alright. Anyway, that's why I'm wearing sunglasses. I'm wearing sunglasses because the future is bright, and because the present is also bright. So, yes, what to talk about? Well, Dawn over on YouTube says it was warm last year, but you're just getting the showers. Well, where are you getting showers, Dawn? Where are you getting rained on? Because there's not a cloud in the sky where I'm at. You had snow. Okay, you are nowhere near where I'm at. Although it was pretty cold here. As I understand it, I think it was pretty cold. I think it got cold while I was gone, or the day that I got back. Anyways, let's see what to talk about. Oh my gosh, I have something fun to show you. I'm gonna try not to turn it up too loud. I bought, this is very exciting. This is very exciting to me. I hope it's exciting to all of you. I bought a 2x4. Yeah. Big old piece of wood. And I made it into a lap steel guitar. There's a kit that you can buy. I forget if I talked about this on the stream or not, because it's been a few weeks. I only made it like right before I left, and then I didn't have it with me while we were on the road over the last couple of weeks. So I don't know if I've even really got to. I don't know if I've got to show this off to the live stream. So. All right. Oh, we got Mauve just coming in just a few exits away from me. Did I say what exit I'm on? Whatever. I'm on exit 120. So how you doing? Yeah, boy, it is a nice day in New Jersey. I hope it's relatively nice in the UK, and where everybody is right now. But back to it. I made a guitar out of a stick, out of a plank, piece of wood. And you can't really hear it that good. It's my mother-in-law commented on that. But I'm gonna make it louder. Okay. Oh man, I'm so excited. I made a guitar. I don't think I've ever actually made anything quite this complicated. Oh, hold up. I gotta turn the amp on. I forgot it's on a switch. Yeah, and you can see me. The only trouble is the wall circuit has 2 plugs, so you get lamp, fan, or amp. You get 2 out of those 3: lamp, amp, or fan. And the fan is not plugged in. So I'm going to look good, and I'm going to sound good, and I'm going to be too hot. So it's just like I'm playing live again. This is great. All right, here we go. Are we plugged it? Hold on. Nope. The fan is plugged in, not the amp. I'm getting there. I promise I'm getting there. Meanwhile, I had another question. I don't know. I got a couple of topics for conversation in a minute. Let me just get this amp hooked up. Once again, this is Danjo. Hello. You are watching or listening to or watching on mute, in which case you have no idea what's going on. This is the Gangstagrass live stream. I was reminded by my wife like half an hour ago that I was going to do this, and I am following through. So let me just turn this amp on. Be right back. I should probably get a power strip. There we go. Oh yeah. Gotta warm it up. Here it comes. Where'd I put my slide? There's my slide. Okay. So for lap steel, this is very similar to dobro, or pedal steel, any of those kind of things. You get a little, see that little slide piece of steel. That's why they call it a steel guitar. And you get your finger pickies, which is why this is a good thing for me to do as a banjo player. And you just, okay. And I'm going to plug the guitar into the amp. How about that, huh? Multi-step process. Here we go. All right. Plugging it in. There we are. Now, that's going to sound more like, it's kind of out of tune. I'm going to turn it down a little bit for the family. There we go. Plugging this into my my Polytone Brute amp, if anybody's taking notes on amps. It's surprisingly, I haven't really opened this thing up, but it's got a nice, like some kind of drive circuit. It's got like a separate knob. There's like the volume knob, and then there's a stacked knob for the drive, and that's all it's running on right now. That, and it's got a pretty decent internal reverb. I got it for the clean tone, but still figuring out where the strings are. Some people play this stuff really fast, but I don't know. I feel like it's all about that, like... Come on, I mean, you can't beat that. You can't beat that. Ah, love it. Love it. So, yes, the weather is turning and the music is happening, and how is it going, Susan, over on Facebook? I, too, am looking forward to our first in-person gig. I'm really looking forward to that very much. We're starting to put a couple of those on the calendar. And, you know, cautiously, tentatively, just, you know, sticking a toe out there and seeing what it's like. You may have noticed that my hair did not stop growing, or start growing in the opposite direction over the pandemic. I actually got a haircut at a barbershop, which is a new thing for a lot of us. And I will say that I've been fully vaccinated for long enough that it's taken effect. So I'm, you know, appreciating that level of safety. I will also say I'm in New Jersey, place that I went. Folks were very observant of mask policy, and this was nice. There were plastic curtains, you know, big plastic sheets in between each of the barber's chairs. So, you know, airtight, absolutely not. You know, it's a risk. It's definitely a calculated risk. And, you know, hopefully next 5 days go well for me, and nothing bad happens. Certainly not encouraging anybody to go out and do anything unsafe. But I know that, especially as the weather turns, a lot of us are going to start venturing out and doing things they haven't done in a while. And obviously, one of those for us is the thing that we know and love, playing shows to crowds, which, like, I mean, if you think a haircut is a little risky, you know, so we're taking the risks very seriously. We're, you know, in conversations with all these venues that we're booking with, and we definitely want to do it in a safe way, or we don't want to do it at all. But I'd love to hear anybody's thoughts on that, on us resuming our activities, on anybody out there resuming any activities, you know, other bands that you're aware of, or maybe you've been out of work for a while, maybe your industry is sort of shifting under your feet and you're not really sure where you're going to land or anybody's going to land. Let me know. And because, boy, if you think we've got this stuff figured out, well, we're all figuring it out together. And very thankful for the vaccine, very thankful that so many of us, so many of you are getting it. I believe at this point, every adult in the United States is eligible. Doesn't mean necessarily that everybody is going to end up getting it, you know, for medical reasons. I am not too pleased about the wealth of misinformation that's being peddled out there about this life-saving vaccine, and really hoping that you all have. I don't even know what to say. Get the vaccine. Get the vaccine. Get vaccinated. That's all I have to say. I think about that. I'll figure out more to say later. But I'm looking forward to playing shows. all y'all with the vaccines, better show up, and we can have a really good time, very much like what we're used to. Got a haircut, built a guitar out of a piece of wood in a cave with a box of scraps. What else? I feel like a lot has happened, like, just all at once. It feels like a big switch is being thrown towards spring. It being spring. That's good. Ultimately, I appreciate some elements of winter, but, when you couple it with everything else going on, it's definitely been one of the harder winters for me, personally. I think for a lot of us. So, excited to head into that. My birthday's coming up pretty soon. So, excited about that. It's just, my favorite season for a couple of reasons. That being one of them. Gardening's been good. I've been getting back out into the garden. Things are growing again, so that's great. I was even talking to a landscaping friend of ours who's been helping us out getting things planted, and she had suggested, it was a pretty brutal winter, but that's actually it might have led to some more plants resurging more powerfully because they had a chance to go fully dormant. Now, I don't want to build any analogies out of that. Humans are not plants. We need a lot of the same things that plants need. But I'm not going to say like, adversity is good, makes us fully dormant, and then we can come back from it. I feel like that would be a little reductive. But in the case of the plants, if they benefited from this winter, that's a terrific silver lining. Hope you all are finding silver linings all over the place. Man, I really want to play something copyrighted. I was jamming to Norman Greenbaum's "Spirit in the Sky" when I first hooked this thing up. I think I was on might have been on Instagram or something. I forget. Yeah, I think I was on Instagram. You can follow me over there. By the way, you can if you want to, you can follow any and all of us on our various accounts. I am generally at Dan Whitener. Pharaoh's over at Kid B Pharaoh. Our son the voice, Dolio the sleuth. Wrench at Wrench Audio. The sleeves. We all got our own accounts. We got our own lives and names and faces. And if that's something that you're into, go check us out. Because sometimes we'll just have some random thoughts. Let's see. Yeah. I'll just maybe play this a little bit more. What was it? Oh, Megan really digging the instrument, huh? Yeah, I would make a joke about that's just the quality of the 2x4. But I tell you what, this is actually a pretty good 2x4. So I picked this one up so you can take a look at this. So it's just a 2x4. It's got some sort of stain discoloration. This right here, there's a little knot, and I was like, oh, it's right in the middle. Cool, I'll use that as sort of a 12th fret marker. And then down here, this end was just there's just bits of it missing, if you can sort of see that, and I saw that and I was like, for a construction project, this might get discarded, but it's really cool looking, right? It's a really cool looking piece of wood, and I thought, this is maybe 4 inches longer than I need, that's extra, so if I hate it I can cut it off. But I'm really glad that I picked this one out, and yeah, I don't know. Yeah. learning a little bit more about lap steel, actually. I'm generally not super familiar with a lot of slide instruments, to be totally honest. I grew up listening to my dad play bluegrass, and it was more in that kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say anybody was exclusive about it, but you know that thing that guy said about that ain't no part of nothing. Well, he was talking about the dobro and bluegrass music, which is unfortunate because the dobro is a beautiful, beautiful sound, and it's kind of unmatched in bluegrass or kind of anywhere. And the lap steel is very analogous to the dobro, but obviously it's got this wonderful electric sound. I was reading a little bit and listening to some of the music that's out there. There's a terrific duo album. I believe it's the dobro player Andy Hall and the lap steel player Roosevelt Collier, called Let the Steel Play. And the cool thing about it is that the two instruments tonally are sort of different, and there's differences, subtle differences in the technique too. And what you start hearing in players like Roosevelt Collier and a lot of the players playing lap steel, there's actually a really deep tradition. There's a beautiful traditional music around this instrument, and it's generally referred to. It comes out of the church, and it's generally referred to as sacred steel. And I really encourage you, if you like just the sound of this, go out and listen to some sacred steel music, because it's one of those traditions that doesn't necessarily get talked about in the mainstream yet. I would hope that it's maybe gonna hit a sort of point of awareness where people all of a sudden are like, oh my gosh, have you heard about sacred steel? And maybe me saying it will be that for some folks. So check out Sacred Steel. Check out Let the Steel Play, Andy Hall and Roosevelt Collier. I've been listening to a lot of that myself, and it's a really captivating thing. I was listening to, the thing that really turned me onto it was I was on Facebook, and Robert Randolph was doing just this little live, kind of like this, just like he's just live streaming, and he was just in, I don't know, sweats or something, and he's just rehearsing, not even rehearsing, he's just fooling around. And he had, I think, a little PV lap steel. It might have been new, because he was commenting on like, oh yeah, this one sounds pretty good, making it do just like unearthly things. The thing that really struck me about it, and I'm really new to like steel intonation and everything, but the thing that really struck me, you hear him play this instrument, and which I'm not anywhere near good at, as good as anybody on it, but the way he was playing it, the way he was intonating it, it sounded like a singer, and it was like you could hear where the singer was from. Like it was, he played that thing better than a lot of people sing with their voices, and it just blew my mind. And I save the link and I send it to people sometimes. I'm just like, hey, you want to see something awesome? Look at this. Look at what Robert Randolph does when he's not even trying. Amazing stuff. So very motivated to kind of dig into this sound, and kind of how it all works. Yeah, it makes you think about chords too, because the whole thing is just locked into this open tuning, unless you play pedal steel, where you start to mess with the tuning, and that's sort of the last bridge that I haven't crossed yet. I figured I would start here, but being locked into the open tuning kind of makes you have to think about, like, okay, so if I want, say, a major third, I gotta be here, and if I want a minor third, I gotta be here. So if I wanted to transition between those, and then you gotta kind of jump between. You got to jump all around just to find something that fits, and I'm kind of used to that with banjo because banjo is an open tuning as well. Only difference is you can do this sort of thing with your hand, and with lap steel it's an open chord and you have a straight line, so you really have to jump around a little bit more to find where some things are musically. But those few players, I don't want to say few, but anybody who figures out how to properly accompany themselves and play solo slide, solo steel, whether it's dobro, lap steel, it's a very impressive thing to me. So, all right, getting some recommendations. Campbell Brothers, I absolutely will look that up. And then also, this is not lap steel specifically, but a really terrific dobro album that came out several years ago now called The Three Bells. And it is Rob Ickes, Mike Aldridge, and Jerry Douglas. Three masters of the instrument. And even there, like, they're all playing dobro, right? But even there, you hear how much personal touch and personal tone really gets into, like, they're just all such distinct players, and they all get really different sounds. Side note, I still really want a dobro, and I think I might have one incoming in the mail, but obviously, if anybody else wants to send one incoming in the mail, that's cool too. My house is small and only has so much room, and I have an instrument rack, and it's kind of full. But I've never been one to turn down an instrument. What's a good tune that sort of translates? That's not a tune. This is a cool sounding instrument. Yeah, that sort of thing, you know? It's like... that just right there, that little sweet spot of like, you know, that soprano range that I'm just never gonna, like, I'm never gonna sing that, but yeah. Yeah, it's all just about kind of where you're starting, where you're ending up. Ugh. Ugh. So I guess that's what I'm talking about. Oh, so cool news. I think I just sort of sub or unconsciously put this shirt on. If anybody recognizes this shape, that's because you either are familiar with maps or you may have some connection to this special approximately 2/3 of a 10-mile square that is Washington, D.C. If I haven't mentioned, Washington, D.C. is my original hometown. I was born there. I grew up there, and I love it. Got a lot of family there, and it's just one of my favorite places. Warm weather like today definitely makes me think of there, and a lot of news coming out of DC, which I'm excited about, and I don't need you to be excited about it. So I'm just gonna, you know, like I do here. I made a guitar out of a board. I'm excited about that. I'm just going to sort of sit here and be excited about the things that move me. But the stuff that's going on in D.C. is actually two things, one of which you may have heard of because it kind of affects the whole country, right? You may or may not know. Residents of this country may not know this. A lot of people around here, a lot of people I talk to don't know that D.C. is not a state, and they don't know what that means. And I'll be honest, I didn't really have an idea of what it meant to be a state until I moved to a state. And all of a sudden I turn around and there's a something called a governor, and we have senators and Congress people representing the state. There's like state level government, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. You mean you get to influence what goes on in Congress? Whoa. So DC does not have those things. What DC does have is a delegate, congressperson. Eleanor Holmes Norton has been representing DC for, I was just reading, 30 years now. She's been doing this. So power to her in representing us. And what that means is she gets to speak, and I think she gets to vote in like minor subcommittees. But she doesn't have a real vote because she's not a real congressperson, because DC is not a real state. And if it doesn't sound fair to you, that's because it's not. And there's like 700,000 people who live in D.C. who pay taxes, but who are not represented, which is why my license plate and all license plates in D.C. said taxation without representation. Notice, it did not say no taxation without representation. The rest of the country gets to say no taxation without representation. But D.C., the state of things, if you'll pardon the pun, currently is that they get taxed and they don't get to represent themselves, which is not fair. And it's an interesting thing that this has been talked about for a long time, but is finally, it seems, getting at least more forward momentum than it used to anyway. Probably a conjunction of a couple of things happening. There was this thing that happened in early January, on the 6th, where the Capitol was invaded, and we couldn't mobilize the National Guard to defend the Capitol. that was a problem. And I think some people see that as a problem. I'm amazed that not everyone sees it as a problem. And it's a problem that seems like it could have been rectified by having statehood. We would have been able to invoke the National Guard, I think, earlier, more directly. And then the other reason being that there is increased attention, not on voter fraud, which is essentially non-existent in our country. Statistically, it is insignificant, the amount of cases that actually happen when you compare it to the draconian measures being taken to regulate people's voting rights. We shouldn't be talking about voter fraud nearly as much as we should be talking about disenfranchisement. And there's been some pretty egregious disenfranchisement happening in places like Georgia recently. So I think probably that's a big part of why people are getting it a little bit more. They're like, hey, disenfranchising people in Georgia is terrible. Yes, let's talk about that. Also, there are 700,000 people in D.C. Who don't have congressional representation. Maybe we could fix that. So, I don't know. I'm wearing the shirt. I don't, none of us from DC have high hopes. I don't think. I don't want to speak for everybody, but we've seen this before. We've gotten somewhere before, and then it doesn't get through the Senate, which is so funny because I feel like if we had a DC senator, at least they would vote for it, right? But we don't. But we're trying to get a senator, but we don't have a senator. But we have to get through the Senate to get a senator. So that's where DC's at. But the other piece of news from DC, and this I think is pretty cool, and I may actually be in disagreement with a bunch of even my family on this, because some folks were disappointed that it didn't go a different way. But so I went to a high school in DC it was named after, I went to Wilson High School, which was named after Woodrow Wilson, the president, Woodrow Wilson. And he had some problems regarding racism, which is sort of poignant considering the racial makeup of DC and of Wilson High. So there were a good number of reasons to consider changing the name of this high school. And this again is something that finally got traction very recently. In fact, just a couple days ago, there had been a poll and people had said, "Hey, what do you guys want to name it?" And a bunch of people submitted some suggestions. I submitted a suggestion, and my suggestion makes sense if you think about it, because I suggested we call it Woody Guthrie High School. Why would you name Woodrow Wilson High School Woody Guthrie High School? Well, guess what Woody Guthrie's full name was? I'll give you a hint. His first name, Woody, is short for Woodrow, and his middle name was Wilson, and he was named after the president, Woodrow Wilson. So Woodrow Wilson Guthrie was his full name, was Woody Guthrie's name. And so I thought, clever me, you're going to save a lot of money on the signage. You still get to call it, Woodrow Wilson something or other. But Woody Guthrie was awesome. But they didn't go with that. They didn't go with a number of other things that would have been, excellent choices, honoring educators and really talking about DC's real history. But what they did choose, it seems, the superintendent is proposing to go with August Wilson High School, famous playwright, which I think is pretty cool, partially because the school has a really good theater program. And anyway, I think that's super exciting. It's something, again, that a lot of people are talking about. On one hand, you have people who are against it because they're like, why should we rename things? And Woodrow Wilson wasn't that bad of a guy, and blah, blah, blah. And on the other end of things, you also have people who look at it and say, this was a missed opportunity. We could have named the school after, a really cool, a really relevant educator, maybe somebody who had really, affected the the school or the local community, I think August Wilson is a great choice. Not debating the excellence of the other choices. Obviously, you can only choose one. I think probably some people look at it and are just like, okay, you chose the easy thing because because you get to stick with Wilson. Everybody gets to say Wilson High School. It's not really a meaningful change. I don't really mind that as much as I feel like, hey, August Wilson rocks. It's cool to name a school after an artist. And now, we get to stand toe to toe with Duke Ellington. There's another school in DC named after Duke Ellington. So now I get to say I'm from August Wilson. So I think that's pretty cool as an artist. And that is your DC news for today. Stay tuned because I'm sure there will be lots more DC news coming your way because DC is awesome. DC is underrepresented. And I think people are starting to notice that real people live in DC. So, I'm going to wrap it up because it is a beautiful day. And I have parenting obligations. Yeah, I'm gonna play more of this. I'm going to play more of this next time. You get it next time.